The spaceport was bustling with activity, though not the kind you'd expect. Instead of harried ground crew scurrying under blinking lights, this facility ran like a quiet, well-oiled machine. Even the massive ships gliding into their docks made barely a whisper. Alec took a deep breath, stepping out into the cool, pale light of the station's main thoroughfare. His boots clinked against the metal floor as he scanned the crowd, searching for his assigned guide. "You must be Alec." A calm, measured voice came from his right. He turned and saw her, Chiron. Her people were known for their logic-driven culture and their almost mathematical grace. She stood tall, her silvery skin catching the soft light, and her dark, almond-shaped eyes studied him with dispassionate precision. "I am Yanier. I will be accompanying you during your stay." She offered a slight incline of her head, as if she had calculated that any more of a bow would be unnecessary. Alec scratched the back of his neck. "Yeah, that's me. Nice to meet you." "Follow me," she said without hesitation, pivoting sharply and gliding toward the exit. He hurried to catch up. "Right, of course. No time for small talk. I get it." Yanier glanced at him briefly, her expression unreadable. "I prefer to focus on the task at hand." Alec smirked. "Guess I'll have to talk enough for both of us then." As they moved through the corridors, Yanier explained their itinerary. "Our first objective is the archaeological division. They have unearthed a relic on Chiron Beta 6 that may hold historical significance for both our civilizations. Your expertise in Terran linguistics was requested to aid in deciphering certain inscriptions." Alec nodded. "Sounds straightforward. I'll take a look and see what I can figure out." Yanier didn't respond immediately. When she did, her voice was flat. "I am told you have an unconventional approach. I trust that will not impede our progress." "Unconventional?" Alec raised an eyebrow. "I like to think of it as creative." "Creativity often leads to inefficiency," she replied, her tone devoid of judgment. "Just a statement of fact." Alec chuckled. "Depends on how you look at it." They reached the research wing where a small group of Chiron scholars awaited. The room was dimly lit, the focus entirely on the artifact displayed on the central table. A dark, oblong object sat under a glass dome, etched with intricate symbols that seemed to pulse faintly as if alive. "This is it?" Alec asked, stepping closer. "Yes," Yanier said, her voice softer now. "It is thought to predate both our written histories. The markings are unfamiliar even to us." Alec leaned over the dome, squinting at the symbols. "Ha! Yeah, this is definitely not something we've seen before." He tapped his chin. "Mind if I get a closer look?" Yanier hesitated, then gestured to a technician, who deactivated the dome's containment field. "Proceed carefully," she instructed. Alec didn't miss the warning in her tone. "Got it," he said, carefully reaching out to trace one of the lines. The surface was cool and the symbols flickered faintly at his touch. He looked up at Yanier. "Ever seen them react like that?" She shook her head. "No. Your interaction appears to influence the markings." "Well, that's interesting," Alec murmured. "It might mean these symbols are more than just writing. Could be some kind of interface." Yanier stepped closer, peering at the artifact. "If that is the case, it suggests the creators were attempting to communicate in a manner that bridges different cognitive frameworks." Alec grinned. "See? That's practically a compliment." "It is an observation," Yanier replied, but Alec noticed a slight tilt of her head as if she was reconsidering her initial assessment of him. "All right," Alec said, pulling out a small scanner from his bag. "Let me run a few scans and compare this to some of our older Terran scripts. I might be able to find a pattern." Yanier watched in silence as he worked. The scanner emitted a soft hum and Alec muttered to himself as he sifted through the data. "Okay, so this curve here kinda reminds me of early Terran trade glyphs. And these dots could be numerical markers. If I cross-reference." Yanier leaned slightly over his shoulder. "You're making assumptions without definitive proof." "Hey, progress starts with a hunch," Alec said, shooting her a playful look. "Trust me, I've done this before." Yanier straightened. "I trust that you are skilled. I do not yet trust your methods." Alec smirked. "Fair enough. Let's see if I can change your mind." Hours passed as they analyzed the artifact together. Alec's scanner mapped out the inscriptions in detail and Yanier provided her own insights, explaining how certain shapes and patterns resembled Chiron logic symbols. Alec, in turn, shared parallels from ancient Earth texts, bouncing ideas back and forth. Despite her initial skepticism, Yanier began to engage more actively. At one point, she pointed to a set of markings that Alec had dismissed. This cluster might represent a sequence, she suggested. Sequence? Alec squinted at the screen. You mean like a timeline? Or an instructional order, Yanier said. If we rearrange these symbols into a sequence based on the pattern's repetition, it might reveal a procedural function. Alec's eyes lit up. That's brilliant. Why didn't I think of that? Because your approach was unfocused, Yanier said, but there was a faint hint of satisfaction in her voice. He laughed. Guess that's why we make a good team. Your focus, my chaos. I would not describe it as chaos, Yanier said, then paused. Perhaps unpredictability. Unpredictability works for me. Alec smiled. Let's give your theory a try. They began rearranging the symbols on the holographic projection and slowly, a pattern emerged. The artifact emitted a low hum and the once dormant symbols glowed brighter. Well, that's new, Alec said. He looked at Yanier. Looks like we're onto something. Yanier inclined her head, the faintest hint of approval crossing her face. It appears so. As they left the research wing later that evening, Alec glanced at Yanier. You know, you're not so bad to work with after all. She raised an eyebrow. I could say the same. Don't get too sentimental on me, Alec teased. I assure you, I am not, Yanier replied, but her tone was less rigid now. Alec grinned. Sure you're not. They walked in silence for a while, the artifact's faint glow still lingering in Alec's mind. He glanced at Yanier again, wondering what other surprises this partnership might hold. Alec shifted the weight of his pack as he followed Yanier through the towering corridors of the central archive. The air had a faint metallic tang, and the dim lighting seemed more fitting for a museum than a research facility. So, Alec said, glancing at her as they walked, do you always do this alone? I mean, work on ancient artifacts and mysteries without a partner. Yanier looked over her shoulder. Typically, yes. My colleagues and I operate independently, each focusing on our respective fields. Alec nodded. Must get kinda quiet. I don't think I could go that long without talking to someone. Conversation is rarely a requirement in my work, she replied. Results speak for themselves. Sure, but it's not just about results, Alec said. Sometimes having someone to bounce ideas off of helps you see things differently. Two heads are better than one, right? Yanier stopped at a large, circular door, placing her hand against a control panel. The door slid open with a smooth hiss. If your hypothesis is correct, she said, stepping inside, we shall see. Alec followed her into the archive chamber. The room was vast, with shelves that stretched high into the darkness above. Strange, glowing panels lined the walls, each one displaying clusters of symbols and diagrams. In the center stood a circular table, its surface rippling with holographic projections. Whoa, Alec said, turning in a slow circle. This place is incredible. It is efficient, Yanier said, moving toward the table. Every piece of information is cataloged and readily accessible. Efficient, sure. But it's also beautiful, Alec said, examining one of the floating holograms. Your people must have spent centuries building all this. Yanier tilted her head slightly as if considering his comment. It is the culmination of our efforts, yes? We value clarity and precision in all aspects of our work. Clarity and precision, Alec echoed with a grin. Doesn't leave much room for creativity, does it? Creativity introduces variables, she said simply, calling up a new set of symbols. We prefer certainty. Certainty's great and all, Alec said, stepping up to the table, but sometimes you need to take a leap. Try something new. You'd be surprised what you can find when you're not looking for it. Yanier glanced at him. Is that how humans approach discovery? Sometimes, Alec said. We're not always logical, but we get results. She nodded slowly. Interesting. Let us apply your approach. What do you propose? Alec tapped the surface of the table, causing the holograms to shift and spin. Let's start by breaking these symbols into clusters. They might not make sense in the order they're in now, but if we rearrange them... Wait, Yanier interrupted, holding up a hand. You intend to alter the sequence without verifying its integrity? Yeah, Alec said. Call it an educated guess. That is highly unconventional. Alec grinned. That's the idea. Yanier hesitated, then gave a small nod. Very well. Show me your method. Alec got to work, dragging and dropping symbols in the projection. "See this pattern here?" he said. "It looks like it could be a numerical sequence, but it's broken. If we rearrange it, maybe it'll align with the rest of the symbols." Yanier leaned in, her sharp eyes following his movements. "I see the logic in that. If we group these three glyphs, yes, it creates a harmonic pattern." "Exactly," Alex said. "Now, what about these? They're repeating, but the intervals are uneven. What if we space them out?" "Try it," Yanier said. "I will adjust the filters to highlight any changes." As Alec manipulated the projection, Yanier adjusted the controls on her end. The holograms shifted again, glowing brighter and pulsing in a slow, rhythmic pattern. "That's it," Alex said, pointing. "The sequence is stabilizing." Yanier straightened, watching as the symbols began to align in a smooth flow. "Your approach is unorthodox, but it appears effective." "Told you," Alex said with a wink. Yanier raised an eyebrow. "Your confidence is notable." "Notable, huh? I'll take that as a compliment," Alex said, stepping back from the table. "So, what do we have now?" Yanier studied the projection. "This sequence might be a form of instruction. If we follow it, we may uncover the artifact's purpose." "Great," Alex said. "Let's do it." Yanier hesitated again, then nodded. "Proceed." The two of them began to test the sequence, following the symbol's guidance. Each step led to a new configuration, and with every change, the artifact seemed to come to life. It pulsed faintly, the symbols glowing in unison. "This is incredible," Alex said, leaning closer. "I've never seen anything like it." "Nor have I," Yanier admitted. "It is extraordinary." Alec glanced at her. "Did you just say something wasn't logical?" "I said it was extraordinary," she replied, a faint hint of amusement in her voice. "There is a difference." Sure, Alex said with a laugh. "Let's keep going." They worked side by side, their movements synchronizing as they adjusted the holograms and tested new configurations. The once-cool chamber grew warmer as the artifact responded to their efforts. Symbols shifted and glowed more brightly, casting soft light on their faces. "Look at that," Alex said. "It's like it knows what we're doing." "Perhaps it does," Yanier said quietly. "It may be designed to react to certain patterns of thought." "Patterns of thought?" Alec asked. "Like it's reading our minds?" "Not in the sense you mean," she said. "But it might be responding to the intent behind our actions." "Huh," Alec said. "That's kind of amazing." "Agreed," Yanier said. They fell silent, focused entirely on the task at hand. Their hands moved in unison, adjusting the holograms, testing the sequence, and watching as the artifact's glow intensified. After several long moments, the artifact emitted a low, musical hum. The symbols stilled, their pulsing light settling into a steady rhythm. "I think we did it," Alex said, stepping back. "That's gotta be a good sign." Yanier stared at the artifact, her expression calm but her eyes bright. "It appears we have uncovered the first step." "First step, huh?" Alex said, looking at her. "I'd say we're off to a pretty good start." "Yes," Yanier said, her gaze still fixed on the artifact. "A promising start." Alec pushed open the door to the research chamber and stepped inside. He found Yanier standing in the center of the room, staring at the holographic projection of the artifact's symbols. She had her arms crossed, her expression unreadable. "Morning, Yanier," Alec said, walking over to the console. "You're up early." "I did not sleep," she replied, her voice steady. "The artifact has displayed new behavior." "What kind of behavior?" Alec asked, glancing at the glowing symbols. "I thought we figured out the first step." "We did," Yanier said, turning to face him. "But now it is reacting to environmental variables." "Environmental variables?" Alec frowned. "What does that mean?" "The artifact has begun to respond to the presence of certain materials," Yanier explained. "When specific elements are introduced, the symbols shift in intensity." "Like it's calibrating itself?" Alec suggested. "Possibly," Yanier said. "I have documented the changes, but I require your input." Alec smiled. "You need my unpredictable touch?" Yanier raised an eyebrow. "I require your perspective." "Fair enough," Alec said, pulling up a chair. "Let's see what we're dealing with." They spent the next hour reviewing the data. Yanier presented her observations methodically while Alec pointed out potential patterns she hadn't considered. The symbols pulsed faintly on the projection, responding to each adjustment they made. Look at this, Alex said, pointing to a cluster of glyphs. This part's been repeating more frequently. What happens if we isolate it? Yanier keyed in a sequence. The projection shifted and the symbols reconfigured into a tighter formation. The artifact itself began to emit a faint hum. Interesting, Yanier said. This arrangement appears more stable. Stable's good, Alex said. But why is it humming? You think it's trying to communicate something? Perhaps, Yanier said. The artifact's creators may have embedded auditory cues as part of its function. Alec leaned closer to the projection. You think it's like a musical code? Not necessarily music, Yanier said, but a sequence of sounds that convey information. Alec nodded. Okay, so if we treat it like a code, maybe we can decode it. That is a logical next step, Yanier said. Alec smirked. Hey, was that a compliment? It was an acknowledgement of your suggestion, Yanier said, though her tone was less stern than usual. Close enough, Alex said, pulling up his datapad. All right, let's record the frequencies and run a pattern analysis. They worked side by side, listening to the artifact's subtle hum and noting down the changes. Alex spoke aloud as he calculated possible correlations and Yanier countered with her own observations. Their dialogue became a rhythm of ideas, each building on the other's suggestions. Do you hear that shift? Alec asked after a while. It's going higher, then dropping back. Yanier adjusted the controls. It seems to occur every 15 seconds. There is a deliberate pattern. Exactly, Alex said. What if it's trying to direct us to the next step? Like it's saying go here without words. An intriguing hypothesis, Yanier said. How do you propose we test it? Let's map out the intervals, Alex said, tapping on his datapad. If we can predict when it changes, we might figure out where it wants us to focus. Yanier nodded. I will assist. They fell into a quiet rhythm, analyzing the data and testing different configurations. The artifact's hum grew more complex, and the room seemed to resonate with its vibrations. Alec could feel a subtle tension in the air, a sense that they were on the verge of uncovering something significant. All right, Alex said after a while. I think I've got it. The intervals match up with the glyph clusters. If we rearrange the symbols to align with the hum's peaks, we might get a clearer message. Proceed, Yanier said, watching closely. Alec adjusted the projection, moving the glyphs into new positions. The artifact's hum shifted again, this time into a steady, melodic tone. The symbols glowed brighter, casting shimmering patterns onto the walls. That's new, Alex said, stepping back. What do you think it means? Yanier studied the projection. It may be a form of recognition. A confirmation that we have followed the correct sequence. So we're on the right track, Alex said. That's good. Yanier gave a small nod. Indeed. They stood there for a moment, the artifact's glow reflected in their eyes. Alec glanced at Yanier, noting the slight furrow in her brow. You okay? He asked. I am considering the implications, Yanier said. This artifact was designed with a level of complexity that suggests its creators had a profound understanding of both logic and intuition. It is unexpected. Alec smiled. Unexpected can be good. Keeps things interesting. Perhaps, Yanier said, her tone thoughtful. Alec leaned against the console, folding his arms. You know, you're not as stiff as you seem. I mean, I wouldn't have guessed you'd be open to trying out unconventional methods. I adapt when necessary, Yanier said. Your approach, though unconventional, has yielded results. Is that your way of saying I'm not so bad? Alec asked, grinning. It is an acknowledgement of your contributions, Yanier replied, but there was a faint hint of amusement in her voice. Alec chuckled. I'll take it. The two of them continued their work, adjusting the glyphs and testing different sequences. The artifact's hum grew softer, settling into a gentle, harmonious tone. Alec felt a sense of accomplishment as he watched the symbols align in perfect harmony. We did it, he said, looking over at Yanier. Yes, she said quietly. We have made progress. Alec smiled. And here I thought you didn't believe in progress through unpredictability. Yanier met his gaze, her dark eyes steady. Perhaps I underestimated it. They stood there for a moment, the room filled with the soft hum of the artifact and the faint glow of its symbols. Alec felt a strange sense of connection, not just to the artifact, but to the alien woman beside him. Well, he said after a pause. What's next? We analyze the data further, Yanier said. And see where it leads us. Alec nodded. Sounds good. Let's keep going. The glow of the artifact illuminated the room in soft, shifting patterns. Alec sat cross-legged on the floor, a portable console balanced on his knees. Yanier stood nearby, arms folded. Audie verified that. Yeah, I figured, Alec said. But if we can figure out what's causing them, maybe we can stop them from interfering. Yanier raised an eyebrow. You believe the artifact is reacting to an external force? Could be, Alec replied. Or maybe it's something internal. Either way, it's worth checking. Yanier tilted her head considering. That is, a reasonable approach. I will assist. Alec grinned. Teamwork. Love it. She moved closer, pulling up her own console and linking it to his. The two of them began running diagnostics, their screens displaying lines of data that scrolled by at a rapid pace. I still do not understand why you insist on verbalizing your thoughts, Yanier said after a while. It is inefficient. It helps me think, Alec replied, not looking up. Saying it out loud lets me hear if it sounds right. It also makes it difficult for others to concentrate, she said, though her tone lacked the usual sharpness. Alec chuckled. Noted. I'll try to keep it down. Yanier glanced at him, her expression neutral. I did not request complete silence. Your verbal observations may occasionally provide insight. Wait, was that a compliment? Alec asked, his grin widening. It was a statement of fact, she replied, turning back to her console. Sure it was, Alec said, but his tone carried no malice, just a touch of teasing. They worked in relative quiet for a time, save for the soft hum of their equipment and the faint, rhythmic pulsing of the artifact. Alec occasionally muttered under his breath and Yanier would interject with a precise observation, pointing out data anomalies or suggesting alternate approaches. Their partnership, though still marked by differences in style, had become a smooth interplay of logic and instinct. After an hour, Alec let out a small exclamation. Found it. There's a feedback loop in the artifact's core systems. It's creating those fluctuations. Yanier peered at his screen. A feedback loop? Could it have been triggered by our previous sequence? Maybe, Alec said. Or it might have been dormant until we started messing with the glyphs. Either way, if we stabilize it, the fluctuations should stop. Proceed carefully, Yanier said. If the feedback loop is integral to the artifact's functions, removing it could cause further instability. Got it, Alec said, fingers flying over the console's controls. I'll isolate it first, see what happens. Yanier watched intently as Alec worked. The artifact's glow shifted and its hum grew slightly louder, then settled into a steady tone. The data on their screens smoothed out, the chaotic fluctuations replaced by a consistent rhythm. That did it, Alec said, leaning back with a satisfied sigh. Fluctuations are gone. Yanier nodded. Well done. Alec raised an eyebrow. Did you just give me another compliment? It is an acknowledgement of your successful actions, Yanier said, her tone calm. I'll take it, Alec said, standing up and stretching. So what now? Now we analyze the stabilized pattern, Yanier said. If the feedback loop was interfering with the artifact's primary function, its removal should reveal new data. Let's hope it's something useful, Alec said, because I'm not sure how much more mystery I can handle. Yanier gave him a brief, almost imperceptible smile. I believe you thrive on mystery. Alec blinked, then laughed. That was definitely a compliment. Merely an observation, Yanier said. But there was a faint trace of amusement in her voice. They turned their attention back to the artifact, which now displayed a new arrangement of symbols. The glyphs had shifted into a symmetrical pattern, their edges glowing faintly. Looks like it's trying to tell us something, Alec said. What do you make of it? Symmetry is often a sign of completion, Yanier said. This may indicate that the artifact's initial sequence is now fully aligned. All right, Alec said. Then let's see what happens when we run it. Yanier hesitated. Are you certain it is safe? Nope, Alec admitted. But that's never stopped me before. Yanier sighed. Very well. Proceed. Alec tapped the console, initiating the new sequence. The artifact began to emit a low, steady hum that grew louder with each passing second. The symbols glowed brighter, casting intricate patterns of light across the room. It's reacting, Alec said, stepping back. You think it's opening something? Possibly, Yanier said. Be prepared for unexpected outcomes. Always am, Alec said, though he felt a twinge of unease. The hum reached a peak, and then the artifact's glow subsided. The symbols faded, replaced by a single, pulsating glyph at its center. Well, Alec said, staring at the artifact. That's new. Yanier studied it closely. This glyph is unfamiliar. I will need time to analyze it. Alec nodded. Take all the time you need. I'll keep an eye on it, just in case it decides to surprise us again. Very well, Yanier said. I will return shortly. As she left the room, Alec leaned against the console, watching the artifact. Its steady pulse reminded him of a heartbeat, though he knew that was just his imagination. Still, he couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the verge of something significant. "You've got secrets, don't you?" he said aloud, addressing the artifact. "Well, we'll figure them out, one step at a time." The artifact offered no response, of course, but Alec felt a small sense of satisfaction in speaking his thoughts. For all the mystery surrounding the artifact, at least he wasn't facing it alone. Alec leaned against the console, his arms crossed as he stared at the single, pulsing glyph. The artifact had been quiet for hours now, as if waiting for them to take the next step. Yanir stood nearby, her gaze fixed on the holographic projection she'd been analyzing since her return. "So," Alec said, breaking the silence, "any idea what that symbol actually means?" "I am still compiling the data," Yanir replied, her voice calm and even. "The glyph does not match any known Chiron patterns. And it doesn't match anything we've got in the Terran database either," Alec said. "It's like it just appeared out of nowhere." "Not out of nowhere," Yanir said. "It is the result of the sequences we initiated. It must have a purpose." "Yeah, but what?" Alec asked. "Is it a code? A map? A warning?" Yanir turned to face him, her dark eyes steady. "Speculating will not bring us closer to understanding. We must approach this systematically." Alec smirked. "Systematic, huh? Fine, I'll try it your way." "Noted," Yanir said, returning to her console. "Let us begin by examining the glyph's structure. Its shape suggests a layered configuration." "Layers," Alec repeated, pulling out his data pad. "Like it's hiding something underneath?" "Precisely," Yanir said. "If we can isolate each layer, we may uncover additional information." Alec nodded. "Sounds good. I'll handle the projections. You focus on the analysis." They worked side by side, the room filled with the soft hum of their consoles and the occasional click of keys. Yanir's approach was methodical, isolating each layer with precise commands. Alec, on the other hand, adjusted the holographic projections and tested different configurations, looking for patterns that might reveal a deeper meaning. "Hold on," Alec said after a while. "That one right there, see those lines? They're repeating at regular intervals." Yanir looked up from her console. "You believe it to be a sequence?" "Yeah," Alec said. "But it's not just any sequence. It's almost like coordinates." "Coordinates?" Yanir's brow furrowed. "If that is the case, they must lead to something." "Exactly," Alec said. "If we map it out, we might figure out what this thing is pointing us to." Yanir nodded. "I will assist." As they worked together to plot the coordinates, the glyph began to shift again. The pulsing light grew brighter, and the artifact emitted a low, melodic tone. Alec glanced at Yanir. "Looks like we're on the right track," he said. "Indeed," she replied. "Continue." They completed the mapping, and the projection displayed a series of points forming a complex pattern. Alec studied it closely, his eyes narrowing. "That's not random," he said. "It's forming some kind of structure." "A structure of what nature?" Yanir asked. "Maybe a station or a gate," Alec said. "Or something we don't even have a name for yet. Either way, it's deliberate." "Then our next step is clear," Yanir said. "We must determine how to interpret the pattern." "Let's cross-reference it with what we've already got," Alec said. "If this thing's been leaving us breadcrumbs, there might be a clue in the earlier sequences." Yanir nodded. "Agreed." They began analyzing the data from the previous sequences, comparing it to the new pattern. Alec's voice filled the room as he pointed out correlations, while Yanir offered precise observations that refined their approach. It was a delicate balance, his intuitive leaps paired with her meticulous logic. "There," Alec said suddenly, pointing to the projection. "See that alignment? It matches the first glyph cluster we uncovered." "Which means it was part of the sequence all along," Yanir said. "We simply did not have the context to understand it." "Exactly," Alec said. "Now that we have the full pattern, we might be able to activate the artifact's final function." "Are you certain that is wise?" Yanir asked. "We do not fully understand what will happen." Alec shrugged. "We've come this far. If we don't try, we'll never know." Yanir hesitated, then gave a small nod. "Very well. Proceed." Alec entered the final sequence, and the artifact's glow intensified. The pulsing glyph expanded, filling the room with a warm, golden light. The hum grew into a deep, resonant tone that seemed to vibrate through their very bones. "What's happening?" Alec asked, his voice raised over the sound. "The artifact is initiating a response," Yanir said. Remain prepared. The light grew brighter, and then, just as suddenly, it dimmed. The glyph faded, leaving only the faint outline of the symbol floating in the air. Alec and Yanir stood still, waiting for something to happen. Did it do anything? Alec asked after a moment. Not immediately apparent, Yanir said. But the data suggests. She was cut off by a sudden burst of energy from the artifact. A beam of light shot upward, creating a shimmering column that revealed a new set of symbols. Symbols that appeared to be a direct message. That's new, Alec said. What's it say? Yanir studied the symbols. It appears to be an invitation, a location, coordinates that align with the pattern we just uncovered. An invitation to what? Alec asked. I do not know, Yanir admitted. But it is clear that the artifact was designed to guide us to this point. Alec stared at the glowing symbols, his mind racing. Looks like we've got a choice to make. Yanir nodded. Indeed. Do we follow its guidance? Or leave it undiscovered? Alec grinned. You know me. I can't walk away from a good mystery. I anticipated as much, Yanir said. Very well. We will proceed. They gathered their equipment and prepared to transmit the coordinates to their respective teams. The artifact's glow faded to a soft shimmer, as if acknowledging their decision. As they left the chamber, Alec glanced at Yanir. You know, you're not so bad to have around in situations like this. She raised an eyebrow. That is a compliment? Sure is, Alec said with a grin. And who knows? Maybe wherever this thing's pointing us, we'll find out that the real treasure is the people we work with along the way. Yanir's expression softened just slightly. I will take that as a positive outcome. Good, Alec said, stepping into the corridor. Because we're in this together now. Yanir followed him, the faintest trace of a smile on her lips. Indeed,